much tighter at that point.
So let's push in.
All right, here we go. Shooting.
Action.
Anytime I read a script, I think I'm always drawn to something that I haven't done before. And when I read it, it seemed like a new character. Nothing about it felt familiar. Nothing about it felt like I knew her initially. It was totally new territory for me.
We'll do it. Okay, let's do another rehearsal, please. I love Halle Berry, and now I'm really in love with Halle Berry.
Every scene with her is exciting as an actor and as a member of the male gender as well. Okay. Can I just say for the record, wow!
Not a hard day at the office when you have to go to work and flirt with Halle Berry.
She's just a gem. It blows me away. She's just relentless as far as her approach, her imagination, and as tough as her job has been, where she's in every scene.
Ro is a woman on a mission.
She's a survivor and will do anything to survive.
And I think she's become so good throughout her life at pretending and wearing different faces and becoming very chameleon-like as a way to survive.
My very first thought when I was thinking about this idea was that with the title Perfect Stranger, that the stranger in this movie was Ro. She wasn't comfortable anywhere except inside someone else's skin.
This character is very tortured and very alive and very complicated and very vulnerable.
Halle got Ro right away.
It's a movie about people with secrets, all of them, but Halle is brilliant because she was playing it on 3 different levels all the time.
I really love getting into sort of the, the mind of someone that's a bit battered and a bit tortured, and I love investigating and discovering how that manifests.
Classic. Powerful men protecting powerful men.
Okay. Now,
And I'd never worked with James, and I didn't know what kind of director he would really be on the set. I know I respected his movies and his work. After our first take, James said, "Oh my God, that was brilliant!"
yeah, cut. Oh!
When you do something real and good and organic, he has a real good organic response.
He'd shout, "Cut!" or "Great!" or, you'd be in this really intense scene and he'd just sort of burst out with his energy because he couldn't contain it.
Cut! That was excellent. Excellent, excellent.
Back to 1.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I know Jamie for a long time, and I had a great time working with him. He was a great storyteller.
James Foley is a director who is focused, and he's focused in an area of psychological thrillers. He's focused in an area of making a smart film.
His vision for this film came from a completely different angle than we'd been attacking it.
I'm very fascinated by the idea that people don't know who the hell they are or why they're doing what they're doing.
What makes people human, what really drives Ro. He had a huge impact on centering everything Ro did based on something that she had been through.
There's always good and evil, and that becomes so black and white, but in the rehearsal process, we were talking about the fact that we're trying to get away from that people are more complicated than that, and everybody has their demons.
People are limitlessly complex and contradictory and can be Mother Teresa and Charles Manson in the same body. To me, the most exciting thing in cinema is a close-up of a great actor. When we do takes, and take 4 is brilliant, and you know it, and I get very excited, and then the actor turns, and the actor knows it too because they felt it, and that's my biggest thrill.
Some directors just go over and over and over, and I often think it was never as good as the first 2 takes, and James is of that school. He thinks you pretty much nail it early on, and I respect that about him. And he's got the confidence to know that, and I really respect that about him.
Just set that to 30 cut.
Don't get too creative.
And as a little extra added bonus, your computer has a few things to say. Listen, this is good.
Giovanni is very cerebral, and he's very talented.
He has his own little quirky stuff, and we see that in the film.
He pushed the envelope. He'd come when he wasn't working. He'd watch. He'd just keep questioning. He's just so much fun.
Once Giovanni came on board, it's like he just jammed a firecracker up the butt of the character.
Giovanni was afraid that the character would be perceived of as a nerd. somehow that would be equated with, you know, a computer whiz. And both he and I had this discussion and decided that he was like really a downtown hipster who knew everything that was going on.
Hey, you're empty. You buy, I fly.
The other thing that he was very concerned with is that he wanted to be a contender somehow in Ro's world.
Miles is sexy. Miles in eye. Miles is sexy.
Translation?
Let me guess. Miles is sexy.
You think so?
And I need this why?
He's madly in love with her.
Ro knows that Miles has somewhat of a crush on her. And I think as most women, we know how to sort of work it. When we know that we have the upper hand in a relationship, we know how to use that to our advantage. And Ro definitely uses what she knows about Miles and uses what she knows he feels about her to her advantage.
Miles, I would love to get my hands on the rest of these emails.
What, Harrison Hill? Harrison Hill?
Harrison Hill is a powerful, arrogant, wealthy, ambitious, competitive, bed-hopping, married man.
You love him, flaws and all, and you just, he's enigmatic and fun. I love Bruce Willis in this movie. I think he's a great character.
You're Catherine, right?
And you're Harrison Hill, the boss.
Yes. It's good to be the boss.
Yeah.
The original character was written to be in his 30s, and that's very different than a man in his 40s who's lived and is not ashamed of what he's done and lived through. Bruce is, in so many films, has been our hero, the guy we trust, the guy who's up against it all. And to have him play the target of an investigation, someone who doesn't come out smelling so rosy, someone who's done things that would make anybody in the audience uncomfortable, it really subverts audience expectations. So I thought that was a very smart piece of casting.
Harrison Hill is very clear on what he wants, and in a way, Ro is no different.
No, for me, Harrison Hill will do anything to succeed, Ro will do anything to survive. And I think that's a difference.
But they both are very willing to do whatever it takes to get what it is they want. And Miles, in his own way, even though he's somewhat of a subordinate, he knows that he has power in what he's technologically able to bring to the table, and he hopes that that's going to translate into a sex appeal.
You know, Ro thinks she knows everything she needs to know about these two men in her life, but she doesn't. If you have characters that are moving through a story where they don't know what's happening, then you're on that ride with them, and that automatically ratchets up the tension.
Our job as actors are never to really, or I never think of it as, okay, I have to keep the suspense. I have to stay honest in the moment and be in the scenes and play Ro.
Try to remain present and try to remain in today's work, almost as if you haven't read the end, because you don't want to tip it, you don't want to give it away.
And the suspense of the movie, hopefully it's written on the page, and that's in the way Jamie Foley directs the movie, that's in the way Tasmikos lights the sets, that's in the way the cameraman moves the camera. Like, a lot of the suspense of the movie comes from other elements.
What James wanted was a kind of architectural look. Simple, strong. We would have washes of color come into a kind of a monochromatic set. And those were the discussions. You know, they were really to do a kind of a sexy thriller with a controlled palette and a controlled look.
The whole idea of contrast is something that our director James has kept in the forefront all the way through. And at some point in the process, he used a term to describe what he wanted the movie to be, which is hot fudge. And as he described that, the hot fudge to him meant the contrast of very white, cold textures and surfaces contrasted with very warm, dark surfaces, and not in two different places, but often in one place. The contrast between this building and 7 World Trade Center, I think, and Ro's character really, is the difference between something that's very beautifully detailed and refined and something that's very layered and dark. So the hot fudge sundae was a good term for that. And we sort of shortened it to hot fudge factor. So that was, does this have the hot fudge factor? Do we have a hot fudge sundae? Do we have both things in one place? Do we have the contrast? Do we have the light and dark? Do we have the very busy and the very simple? Do we have all of that in one place? I'm always thinking of the shots when I am designing the set.
Bill Groom is somebody I'm in awe of. He anticipates where the camera's going to have to move through different rooms. And he's created spaces in which a nook and a corner there is going to be dark for that purpose.
I actually once read a little Hindu proverb that said something like that the world is like the impression left by the telling of a story, which is what we do as the art department. We create that world, really, and we create that impression that was left by the telling of a story. We provide the evidence of what could happen and what did happen in the end.
Every good story is a detective story, every single one, whether there's a detective in it or not. Because the thing that makes you turn the page or keep watching once it's a film is because you don't know what's going to happen next.
Anybody who likes puzzles and tries to figure puzzles out is going to want to go to a psychological thrill and see if they can't guess who it is before the end and see if they can't match up the pieces. And at the end of the film, even the most ardent psychological thriller fan is going to say, wow, I didn't see that coming.